I first knew something was wrong. The morning I opened my inbox and saw an email with the subject line I'd been dreading, "Your startup proposal." It was from Marshall and Company, the mid-sized consulting firm, where I'd worked for the last 4 years, dreaming quietly of building something of my own. The message was curt. "Dear Mr. Alvarez, thank you for your detailed proposal on the new diagnostics AI platform. We've decided to move forward with implementation immediately under our own internal team. We appreciate your input. Marshall and Company Innovation Group." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My hands trembled as the words sank in. Diagnostics AI was my brainchild. My master's project at MIT turned personal obsession. I'd poured nights and weekends into a prototype that could analyze patient vital signs in real time and flag early warning signs of sepsis. I'd confided in my manager, Jake Thompson, because I believed in mentorship and transparency. Jake, in turn, had taken my idea straight to the leadership team, packaging it under company letterhead and stamping it Marshall and Company intellectual property. They'd hired 2 outside consultants, allocated a 6-figure budget, and quietly sidelined me from every related meeting. My breath hitched. I closed my laptop, slammed my fists on the desk, and paced the tiny corner office I'd rented just 3 months ago to house DevNexus, my fledgling startup. The room was littered with whiteboards scrawled in red and blue markers, workflow diagram, UX mockups, data ingestion pipeline. My laptop sleeve sat atop a stack of design sketches. I grabbed them and crumpled them in my pack. No time for tears. I needed a plan. Later that afternoon, I sat across from Jake in his glass-walled office. He looked like a kid who'd just opened a perfect gift. His corner office, with its cityscape view, always seemed larger than mine. He waved my crumpled sketches at me. "Manuel, you're a genius. The board saw the demo you did in February. Everyone's excited. This could be a multi-million-dollar division for us." His grin was sickening. "We're assigning you as technical advisor, of course." He tapped his phone. "I'm setting a Slack channel. You'll get the notifications." I caught his eye, steely. "Jake, that was my idea. You back-channeled it, pitched it as your own, and now I'm a glorified bystander. That's not ethical." He blinked, then laughed. "Ethics? Manuel, this is business. I mentored you. I gave you the platform. Be grateful." "Grateful?" I stood, fists clenched. "No, Jake, you stole my work. I'm not sitting here while you take credit." He looked at the door. "If you can't play nice, maybe you're not cut out for leadership." I walked out before I said something I'd regret. In the hallway, my phone buzzed, a text from Maria, my co-founder at DevNexus. "Heard the news. Let's meet at 5. I thumbed back. Yes, I'd need Maria's support if I was going to do more than vent. By 5 o'clock, I was in our usual booth at the Copper Mug, a dive bar that doubled as a beer garden in warmer months. Maria slid in opposite me, iced tea sweating in her hand. "Tell me you're joking," she said. "Jake pitched Diagnostics AI without even thanking you?" I set my laptop bag on the bench, cleared off my sketches. "He ran the pitch deck up to the exec team last week. By yesterday afternoon, they'd approved funding and hired contractors." She frowned. "That's insane. You were the one with the code, the data connectors, the clinical trials contacts. We own the IP." I nodded. "We do, and they know it. We filed a provisional patent 3 months ago, but they've already marked it Marshall and Company confidential. That gives them a time buffer." Maria's eyes narrowed. "Wait, how did they get a copy of your deck?" "We share that only through our secure link portal." I leaned in. "Jake's email client. He's on the internal whitelist, so he can download attachments directly." I tested it. He forwarded the deck from his work account to his personal Gmail. I pulled up the email log on my phone. Here's the timestamp. Tuesday at 2:11 p.m. My email to him shows as downloaded. She gasped. "You have proof." I nodded. "And that's only part of it." I opened my laptop. "Watch this." I typed a command in the terminal. Lines of log entries flew past. Maria's jaw dropped. "Holy shit." I leaned back. Our deck has hidden watermark tags, every slide stamped with a unique identifier tied to his user account. I paused. Anytime someone downloads it, the tag triggers an alert and logs the user. I pushed that to production last quarter. She shook her head in awe. "Brilliant. So he didn't realize you'd know." I cracked a small smile. "I like traps." That night, I drafted an email to the leadership team at Marshall and Company. Subject: Unauthorized use of intellectual property. Dear Ms. Chen, Mr. Goldstein, and the Innovation Board. It has come to my attention that a deck containing proprietary IP belonging to DevNexus LLC was downloaded by your employee Mr. Jason Thompson on February 12, 2021 at 14:11. This deck is covered under Provisional Patent Application #62/1234456 and Confidentiality Agreement, signed February 1, 2021. Marcel and Co. S use of this content without authorization constitutes IP infringement. I request immediate cessation of all work on Diagnostics AI under Marshall & Company, auspices, and an agreement to license the technology from DevNexus at fair market terms. Sincerely, Manuel Alvarez, CEO, DevNexus, LLC. I hit send. My finger hovered over the reply all box. Did I dare? No, they needed the full board in on this. I CC'd the entire innovation board and legal depth. The toaster dinged 5 minutes later, one auto reply, out of office, returning February 18th. Another received, will review. But the big one was from Linda Chen, our ex-mentor on the board at Marshall. Let's talk. I lingered over that. The next morning, I logged into my secure sysadmin console, a far cry from my old day job on the help desk, and saw my inbox lit with messages. Miss Chen would like to schedule a 10 a.m. video call. Mr. Goldstein requests more details. Mr. Thompson, your employee, needs to see HR. I closed the laptop and sat back, heart hammering. 3 days is all we needed. At 10 a.m., I clicked into the Zoom link. Chen's face filled the screen, business casual blazer, sympathetic eyes. Manuel, she said, voice gentle but firm. I'm so sorry to hear about this. I had no idea Jason would proceed without authorization. I nodded. I don't think he understood the implications. I felt a surge of righteous calm. Our IP is covered by 2 patents in process and a confidentiality clause. We're willing to license it under terms we can discuss, but any work done so far is unauthorized. We'll need a credit agreement and a timeline for removing your contractors from any code they wrote using our data models. She scribbled notes. Understood. We'll need to discuss with legal, but thank you for bringing this to our attention so promptly. I let out a breath. Thank you. She added, we value our relationship with DevNexus. You've been a bright spark in our ecosystem. Let me see what I can do. I accepted that for now. It wasn't justice, but it was leverage. I closed the laptop and exhaled. I'd exposed the theft before they buried it, protected my vision from corporate land grab. And best of all, they didn't even see it coming. That afternoon, I walked into DevNexus's tiny San Francisco office, 2 desks and a coffee maker that sputtered too loud. Maria was waiting with a fist pump. They responded, she said, eyes shimmering. They want to draft a licensing agreement. I grinned. Let's get that roulette wheel rolling. I closed my eyes and let myself smile. The project I'd nurtured from a glimmer of an idea now had real traction, even against my old boss. And if they wanted it, they'd have to come to me on my terms. A ping on my phone, a calendar invite from Linda Chen. Discussion Diagnostic AI licensing terms, scheduled for Thursday at 3 p.m. I accepted. Maria slapped me on the back. You left a trap, and they walked right into it. I laughed, patting my pocket where my thumb drive lay, proof of everything. That's how you guard your dreams. We high-fived and turned back to the whiteboard, sketches waiting for new paths forward. Diagnostics AI would be ours yet, whether built in a cubicle at Marshall & Company, or in our own lean, scrappy little company, with a future as big as our ambition. And so the game began, strategic emails, boardroom jockeying, licensing proposals. But as long as I kept feeding them only what I wanted them to see, enough to thrill but never to own, I held the real power. Because my idea was more than code, it was a promise I'd safeguarded with a trap. And now they'd pay me for it. Tomorrow I'd shape the contract. Tomorrow I'd build my company. Tomorrow they'd see that ideas thrive, not because they're taken, but because the creator holds the keys. And that, my friends, is how you turn corporate betrayal into entrepreneurial victory. The afternoon sun slanted through the slatted blinds of Marshall & Co. Legal Department conference room. As I signed the final page of the licensing agreement, across from me sat Linda Chen, flanked by 2 members of the firm's legal counsel, their pens hesitating for the last signature. My hand gripped the pen firmly, vision of DevNexus's future crystallizing with every stroke. Welcome aboard, Linda said, extending her hand. We're thrilled to partner with you. I shook her hand and slid the document across. Thank you. I look forward to seeing Diagnostics AI save lives. Outside, the note of victory in my chest echoed like a war drum. I stepped into the hallway, inhaled deep, and pulled out my phone. A text from Maria greeted me. Congratulations, CEO. Now the real fun begins. Back at DevNex's headquarters, our refurbished warehouse loft in the Mission District, we toasted with cold kombuchas. Maria popped the cork. First day as a licensed vendor for Marshall & Co. You earned this. She handed me the signed contract. I slapped it onto my desk, next to a framed photo of Dad, who'd taught me to stand up for my dreams. I sank into my chair, the weight of the past week's battles finally settling in. 4 years ago, I'd resigned from Marshall & Company, trading a stable paycheck for uncertainty. Yet I'd believed in my idea more than in any corporate ladder. When Jake stole it, I'd felt betrayed, but I'd never doubted I could reclaim it. Now, with a golden ink signature guaranteeing royalties, equity stakes in the diagnostics AI division, and a non-compete clause that protected DevNexus's growth, I'd proven that principles could be profitable. Maria leaned over a whiteboard covered in dense diagrams. We need to finalize the integration roadmap. First milestone, ingesting live EHR data from 3 pilot hospitals by Q3. You want to lead the technical liaison with Marshall & Co. SIT team. I nodded, energized. Absolutely, and let's line up the data governance review. Their counsel insisted on privacy by design. Good call on our end, since HIPAA compliance is baked into our pipeline. I tapped the contract. They'll trust our code more now that they're paying for it. We must deliver flawlessly. She smiled. Lead the charge, boss. The following week, I flew to Chicago for the kickoff meeting with Marshall's IT leadership. We crowded into a sleek boardroom at their downtown offices, a panorama of Lake Michigan glittering behind them. I presented our architecture, a microservices framework with encrypted data lakes, FAR-compliant APIs, and an anomaly detection engine powered by proprietary machine learning models. They listened, furrowed brows melting into nods. When I demoed near real-time alerts for sepsis risk, I saw CTO David Wu's eyes light up. Gentlemen, Wu said, this is more than a PPT slide. This is our future. He tapped the touchscreen. Let's spin up a sandbox environment and run 500,000 de-identified records through it within 48 hours. I signaled to my team, DevNexus backend lead Priya on the AI console and Maria on the schedule. Consider it done, I said. We'll push nightly builds and iterate. That afternoon, the Marshall & Company engineers crowded around our Docker clusters, and the first tests whirred to life. I paced beside Wu as we watched logs scroll. At 87% of the way through, an error popped, a schema mismatch in patient ID fields. Priya's gloved hand flew to the keyboard. Within minutes, she'd patched the ETL script. By evening, the entire dataset processed flawlessly. Wu clapped me on the shoulder. You made us look good, he said. That's why we licensed this. I smiled, but inside my pulse raced. I'd delivered on our promise, and this success cemented DevNexus's reputation not just as a vendor, but as a vital partner in healthcare innovation. Back in San Francisco, we celebrated by ordering tacos from the best taqueria in town. Maria raised her glass. To our first major milestone, and to the trap that caught a giant. I laughed, drained my glass. It was a wild ride from betrayal to boardroom victory. But now we have the momentum. Let's onboard a second pilot in Minneapolis by year end. She winked. On it. And then Gilead, maybe Kaiser. We're just getting started. Over the next months, diagnostics AI rolled out in hospitals across 3 states. Nurses called our alert feed, the Sixth Sense cardiologists praised the early warning models, and patient outcomes improved measurably. DevNexus grew from 5 employees to 30 as we hired data scientists, UX designers, and clinical liaison officers. Our coffers swelled from licensing fees, percentage royalties on every admission processed. Investors at the Health Tech Summit approached us with term sheets averaging 7 figures. At our new office in Soma, open floor plan, standing desks, windows overlooking the Transbay terminal. I looked around at my team, Priya debugging code on a monitor, Maria sketching UX flows on a glass wall, a group clustered around a whiteboard, ideating our next algorithm. They'd believed in me before Marshall & Company did, and now we were a force together. On a Friday afternoon, I called Jake Thompson's number, my old mentor turned rival. His voicemail picked up. I left a brief message. Hey Jake, it's Manuel. Just wanted to thank you. Your moment of theft forced me to double down on my vision. Diagnostics AI is live in 7 hospitals, and we're scaling nationally. I hope you keep innovating, but remember, ideas are meant to be nurtured, not taken. Cheers. I hung up and let the silence sink in. No bitterness, only the calm triumph of seeing my idea blossom beyond corporate appropriation. That night, I wrote in my journal, if I had lost faith in my own work, DevNexus would have died as a footnote in Marshall & Co.'s quarterly report. But I set a trap: invisible watermarks, meticulous logs, and unwavering confidence in my IP. The heist of my idea taught me the importance of vigilance and the power of perseverance. No one can steal what you fiercely protect, and no one can take from you what you refuse to surrender. I closed the journal, slid on my worn leather jacket, and stepped onto the balcony. The San Francisco skyline glimmered: Salesforce Tower, Transamerica Pyramid, the bay beyond. I raised my coffee mug to the city lights and whispered, here's to the next trap and the next triumph. Because the story wasn't just about getting even, it was about building something indelible, something that would outlast any corporate shuffle. And in DevNexus's future, every idea would be guarded, and every victory hard-earned.